you or another candidate, how would I go about getting involved in the process of, be it you or somebody else, how do I get kind of in the loop, in the groove, and because there is a process that maybe you can explain to me of how the nominations are secured, and maybe who is your potential opponents, and how do I get involved in that? And then a second question is just how important, not that you're going to run for higher office if you should be elected, but could you explain to me, I've heard that sometimes the treasurers move on and get to do other things. Could you answer that?
Sure.
Loaded question.
Yeah, a lot of emphasis in that question about will my opponent or helping others campaign. I don't know if that means anything or not. No. Well, first I'll answer for me. I'm not an announced candidate. I haven't publicly announced to run for treasurer, but gosh darn it, I think we need a new treasurer. And again, the current one's a friend of mine. But as we spoke earlier, very nice person. My uncle's a nice person. He lives here in Colorado Springs. He should be treasurer. It's not enough to be nice. We need people that actually know this job and can do it. So if you want to be involved in this campaign, I brought a clipboard with because I would love to have help, and I would love to have your name, your address, or your email address, and your phone number. But the best way to get involved is talk to the candidate. Talk to Eli, talk to any of the representatives in the room. The way we've elected candidates in Colorado, and certainly the way I hope to be involved, is we do it very grassroots. And we get together as neighborhoods and communities within our Republican precincts, and we all come together and we talk about the candidates we like, we persuade each other to support the candidates we like, and we take that process and it starts at neighborhood community meetings, and then it moves to the counties at the county assembly, and then for statewide offices it moves to the state assembly, and that's how we as Republicans choose our candidates. So it is as grassroots a system as exists anywhere. And so if you'd like to be involved in that on my campaign, certainly sign up and let me know. If you'd like to be involved on other campaigns for this office or for governor or for United States Senator or for county commissioners or any of the offices that are appealing to you, because governments do different things. So if you're really passionate about a particular issue, then find the candidate that shares your passion on that issue for that office, and I promise you, if you tell a candidate you want to help, that candidate will get in touch with you and tell you how you can help. There are lots of people running, and it's a big state, and to find people who are willing to take a few minutes of their time and be involved is certainly the priority for all candidates. So that's a long answer to an easy question. Second question is true, state treasurers have in the past found their way into higher offices. Mike Kaufman's now a congressman, Bill Owens was governor, Gail Shetler ran for governor, Roy Romer was governor, all former state treasurers. That said, I'm running for treasurer. Careful. Get the lawyers in the crowd all fired up. If I run for treasurer, it will be because I want to fix the treasurer's office. I'm not going to run for treasurer because I would really rather be something else, and think that the treasurer's office is a chance to get to that something else. I mean, I think in just the few minutes that we've been talking, I hope that I've conveyed the message that there are some pretty significant problems that need to be fixed, and those are problems that I know how to fix. So that's why I look at the state treasurer's office. But yes, it's true. People who run for state treasurer tend to run for other things if they're good in the future. Yes, sir.
I have a comment and a question. I'll put on the comment and sort of a critical question is that Colorado Springs is very safe in the state of Colorado as far as renting buildings. They do the same thing with 30 South Nevada. Rent that completely. As far as the question is concerned, let's say you get elected as state treasurer. You get in there and you're the people's watchdog and you're informing the people what's going on and doing the job as you desire to run it and in accordance with the rule of law and constitution. How will you handle the day they come to you, take you to a back room and say you need to stop doing this or they politically smear you all over the place, i.e. the political machine that runs the state? How would you deal with that?
Yeah, well, I guess I've been involved in electing Republican candidates really my whole life. I mean, again, I grew up in Logan County, and my parents were active in the party, and they took one of those elephants from the front of the shopping center that you used to put a quarter in, and they put that on the back of a flatbed trailer when I was a little kid, and I threw candy out of that in the parade. And so I'm not concerned about them coming to me and putting me in a back room and telling me what they're doing. The truth of the matter is, I'm fortunate to have friends all over Colorado because I've been out working alongside Republicans really all over the state to try to win these elections. So I'm not worried really about them. And the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, in my belief, good policy is good politics. And so I don't think if you're doing the right thing in the treasurer's office, you have anything to worry about somebody pulling in the back room and saying, we're going to politically snare you. You do the right thing, and that turns into good policy. And I've been in those battles. I mean, none of the ideas that I've just told you about finance and changing the state treasurer's office, I haven't kept any of those things secret to help me politically attack Kerry, because that's foolish. I mean, these things need to be done for the state of Colorado, whether I'm the treasurer or whether Kerry Kennedy is the treasurer. So everything I've just talked to you about tonight, I've talked to Kerry about for the last 2 years. And it's frustrating for me to show him exactly the right thing to do and then hear him say, well, we didn't lose money, we just spent it. That's crazy. And that needs to be fixed. So I think you do the right thing regardless of the politics or who's in charge.
Yes.
With Amendment 23 going up, limits on Tabor, all the mandatory spending in the state budget, what would you propose, or what solutions do you see to how you fix the state budget problems that are real in the state of Colorado?
Yeah, ultimately you do have to break down silos. Because, again, not to get into the weeds, but the state's general fund over the last 10 years, up about 1% on an average annual aggregate basis. K-12 spending is up more than 5%, Medicare spending is up more than 5%. Again, aggregating, I mean, sorry, all the charts and lines, whatever. Those lines, this is unsustainable, okay? This cannot continue. And what we've gotten in the habit of doing with fiscal policy, which is a really bad idea, is locking spending into constitutions. And then we lock them into silos. And we have all these various silos that have all their unique funding sources. And to each person in their individual silo, what's important to them is the most important thing. So we've dedicated lottery spending, we dedicate transportation spending, and now especially when the legislature pulled from Harp-Scout-Bird, which we're getting way into the weeds of state fiscal policy. But do you know that no general fund dollars in the state of Colorado, none of your income tax or sales tax goes to fund highway? CDOT, the Department of Transportation, is funded entirely by gas. So none of your general fund money, unless there's some spillover, which may or may not ever happen again now that Harp-Scout-Bird, which actually forced spillover into transportation. So I think we need to take a look again at the whole thing. Now, I don't think you get rid of Tabor, because I'm terrified of what would happen if revenues were allowed to increase without some sort of limit. I don't think that'll, and I think if I don't think it's politically possible, second, to ever tell people that one time they could vote on taxes and now suddenly you can't vote on taxes. And I think eventually, to your question about going to the court and calling it a fee, enough is enough. And we need some leadership in the Capitol that says, look, if highway construction is important, and if we need $100 per car to get it, then let's go ask.
Well, there is a petition being put together right now that names fees as taxes to stop that.
The problem with it, I mean, if a fee is getting used generally to tax, so let's just say what it is. Then why can't our elected leadership be honest with you and then let the people choose? That's their job.
They don't want the vote.
So, well, and you know what? Again, under Republicans, remember, and even Democrats before the last Republican, we always voted. That's sort of a new phenomenon now. And the registration fee is a horrible idea anyway, because imagine where I grew up, all those farmers and ranchers that have trucks that they get out at harvest and use for 2 weeks or 3 weeks out of the year. All those guys are now paying $100 per truck more in a registration fee that sits in a shed 11 months out of the year. Not to mention all of us. Yes, ma'am.
This is a clarification question. My sister's out in Elbert County. She's a rhino because it's the only way that she'd get a vote in the primary. And we've argued about Tabor. And she says that the small government had to go in de-Bruce because it was so constraining and they didn't have the budget to do all the things that Tabor said. Can you address that some? So
well, I mean, look.
So I can find my sister?
Give her some man.
One, I'll tell you two things. One,